Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be talking about setting up basic enemy AI and your typical Mega Man style scripted boss fight. So first off you need to understand what exactly do you need to do to set this up and why would you set it up. So in this picture here you'll see that the main things that we need for a boss fight, or excuse me, the basic things we need for a boss fight or AI is something called path nodes. These are pretty simple to find. If you just right click inside your level editor, you can find add actor path node. A path node is kind of like a breadcrumb from Hansel and Gretel, to where you leave it all over the level and the AI know that they could go there because that's where the breadcrumbs are. The interesting thing is that the way UDK calculates AI is kind of interesting, and I'll be doing that in another video because that's just a lot of information. But basically the path nodes tell the enemy where to go, but not necessarily when to go or how to go. And they don't have to go directly to the path node, they can just go around that area somewhere. So that's a lot to handle. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to actually tell the AI where to go, when to go, what to do, how to do it, everything. We're going to control everything through Kismet so we get exactly what we want. Now, again, if you're looking at this picture, there's a reason why we're setting the level up this way. There's not really any story or anything in this level. I just built it just to show you how to do it. But I'm going to give you examples, okay? So this level, if we were to design it for the story, okay, you always want to build your level, especially your boss fight, but both, for the story. Your level is going to build up to the boss fight, okay? So you always want to make sure that your boss fight and your level go together. They're part of the story, they make sense, okay? You also want to build the boss fight area for the boss. If you know what animation he's going to be doing, if you know what weapon he's using and how he's going to use it and how it fits into the story, you're going to have an easier time building the level for the boss. You also want to build the boss level for the fight itself. If you know a player has specific weapons and specific abilities and will be playing a specific way, then you'll have to add in or subtract certain things from the level. For example, in this picture, I did not want the player to run behind the boxes and ruin my, my animation that I set up for the boss fight. So I created a ravine, big opening, a canyon here. So, this could be filled with deadly ooze or lava or water-infested shark stuff. I mean, whatever it is pertaining to the story. But the bottom line is I wanted it set up so that the player could not easily kill the boss. The boss fight should also be more challenging than the level itself. And just as a random thought, it should be a comprehensive exam of what you learned in the level. So just like in Mega Man, if you learn to jump and shoot, then your boss is going to be flying and you have to jump and shoot at the same time. Things like that. If you learned how to use a certain weapon in the level, then you want to use that weapon in a certain way or even a different way to beat the boss. So up here, you'll see something that I have written down as environmental storytelling. So what this is in every level you're ever going to create, you always want the artwork in the level, right? The level itself to kind of pace the player and tell the player where to go. So in this example, I have two lights. I have one light that starts when the level loads, and I have that green light there because green means go. Green is good, whereas red is bad. All this dark, scary stuff is bad. All the bright, pretty stuff is where the character wants to go. So I have that light turned on so that the player goes there first to watch the animation that the boss does, and the boss is just taunting the player, saying, "Hey, come and get me." So once you get there and you see the animation, then you don't really know what to do. So I have a second light over by the weapon turn on to show, oh, hey, I need to go get this weapon to beat this guy. And then while you're doing those things, the boss is shooting at you and, and he's doing his animation. So here's some of the Kismet. You can see that when the level's loaded, I wait for a second by right-clicking on that little black box and setting an active delay. The reason why I wait a second is because sometimes if you don't, it doesn't do any of the programming whatsoever. So I typically wait a second and that takes care of it. You can wait for half a second, it should work as well. You'll see that I'm using an actor factory to spawn my little boss guy. And you'll notice that I have a named variable here. Named variables are pretty cool because if I'm doing 500 different animations for this one guy, then I'm going to have a lot of those pink lines connecting to that same guy, and it just gets crazy and the code gets all messy. So by using a named variable, I can type in the name of whatever I want. I'm calling this guy Bossman, capital B, capital M. And when I first did it, there was an X. So over on the left, I created an object variable and gave him the same variable name of Bossman. So now, those two are the same exact variables. That's why there's a check mark. So wherever I reference Bossman throughout all of my Kismet code, they're all referencing the same character or the same variable, just like in programming, so that I don't have to have all these pink lines connected to the same one. And you can see after I create him, I give him a gun and give inventory. And I'm referencing the Bossman variable again so it knows who to give the gun to. Now, in this comment section here, I have the entire boss fight. So you'll see he starts at one path node. He plays an animation. In this case, he's playing the taunt where he says, "Come and get me." And then he starts shooting at me. Then he moves to another path node and stops firing because he's hiding. Okay? He waits for a second or so, and then he moves back to the original spot. Now you'll notice after he gets there, he waits for a second, and then it goes all the way back to the first one again. So he comes back out, he taunts me again, starts firing, moves to the path node. Right? It's just one big cycle. It loops over and over and over again until I kill him. So it's your scripted boss fight. It's no big deal. It's super easy to set up. And since it's so easy and it's scripted and the computer isn't doing anything other than what I tell it, I can control the boss fight. So you're probably asking yourself, how do I do this pawn animation? How do I get him to taunt me? Well, what you're going to do is after you create the Kismet for the pawn animation, which should be under new action AI pawn animation, you're going to go to your content browser and you're going to look for skeletal meshes, and you're going to look for that little robot guy that is the default skeletal mesh. You're going to double click on him to open the animation browser. Now once you get into the animation browser, you're going to go to the anim or animation tab, and you're going to look for K-anim human base mel 124. Okay? You're going to go into that set of animations, and it gives you a ton of animation for you to reference. So if you go to the bottom where it says taunt, you can pick whatever taunt animation you want. You can create your own animations, you can create your own characters, whatever you want. It's a lot more complicated than what this class offers. You can do that later on at Final Project or Level Design 2 and whatnot. But for this class, you could just pick one of these taunts, and you'll notice there's a little number in brackets, like number 72 or 69 or 111 or 124. Those are just the animations. Those are the keyframes of the animation. So it takes, for the taunt FB bring it on, it takes 69 keyframes to do the entire animation. The keyframes are from Maya or 3D Studio Max, things like that. So in order to do the pawn animation, you're not going to type in the brackets and the number. You're just going to type in taunt underscore FB underscore bring it on. And make sure you have all the capital letters capital and all the uncapital letters uncapitalized. You're just going to go back to your Kismet in the pawn animation, click on it, go to the properties, and type it in where it says to type it in. So setting up your basic scripted boss fight is pretty simple, but it's up to you to figure out how the level is designed for the boss, for the player, for the fight itself, and for the story. That's the hard part. Setting up the animation is pretty simple. But again, you are limited to what's going on inside of the editor, the animation that's already there. Now at the same time, this is the same way you're going to set up regular enemy AI, right? When the level loads, or when you hit a trigger, or when the player enters an area, whatever it is, you're going to have an actor factory or an actor factory X, either one you want. You're going to create a skeletal mesh with that. You're going to tell it where to spawn and what object to be spawned. You can name it whatever you want, or you could just leave the little question marks in there. It's up to you, and then connect all the pink lines. It's totally up to you. And then it's pretty simple. You're going to tell it to start on one path node and walk to another path node. If you see the player, shoot it. If he's within distance, shoot it, right? Or he could wait for a couple seconds at that path node and then walk to another path node, or he can walk back and forth between the path nodes. It's totally up to you how you set it up, but one important thing, you'll notice that on the actor factory, you must wait till it's finished before you do the animation, okay? And the animation, you must wait till it's finished before you do something else. For example, if it takes 5 seconds to walk from one path node to another, okay, and it takes, 5 seconds to play the entire walk animation, if you don't wait the full 5 seconds, it's going to mess up your animation and it might not even play it. It might not even let the guy walk to the other path node. So again, if it takes 3 seconds to do the taunt animation, you need to make sure that you are delaying all the other Kismet for 3 seconds. So when that 3 seconds is up and the animation is fully played, then it can go on to the next step. Otherwise, you're messing up your code. So have fun with your enemy AI and your boss fights, and I look forward to seeing what you have.